Hi, my name is Valeri Lilov, and I'll be making a top 10 review of the best movies that I've seen this year, 2012. Before I start, I'd like to say that I haven't had the chance to see all the movies that came out this year, but I've definitely seen all the highly recommended and best reviewed movies that were top notch this year. So, my number 10 actually is Salmon Fishing in the Yemen. This movie is directed by the director of Chocolate and the Cider House Rules, and it's written by the Academy Award-winning director of Slumdog Millionaire. The thing is that when I went to see that movie, I had really good expectations because it was a British romantic comedy, and this is really good because for difference than many other romantic comedies that we've seen, the British comedies are somewhat very original, very delicate, and that's something that I really like about their movies. This movie really got to me. It was very touchy, and at the same time it was heartwarming. I think that the performance of Emily Blunt and Ewan McGregor, the performances of these two actors were simply fantastic. The dialogue was great, and one of the things that particularly impressed me about it was that it was just, you see, very motivational for me to see that movie. I think if you go to see it, you have the same feeling and you really like what you see. It's very, very well written and the script is simply impressive. So the number 9 in my list is The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. So this is another similar movie. It's a British movie, and I think that it's very well played. I mean, it has some amazing performances. Judi Dench and Maggie Smith here give some incredible influence to this film. It's about India, and it's about how one little trip to a country that had some special atmosphere can actually change the lives of a few people to better. It's an incredible movie about the hope, the belief, and about the human relations and how they can change when they're not affected by anything that doesn't have to do much with the ordinary life, the work, and stuff like that. It's an incredible movie about human relations, about a different culture, about learning to really keep your hope no matter at what age you are. And I'm really certain that if you see that movie, you're gonna love it just as much as I did. So number 8 is Here Comes the Boom. Now I have to admit that some of the most recent Kevin James movies were not that great. I mean, they were not bad. You know, I've seen The Zookeeper and basically I've heard about others, so they were nothing special. Yet this one was so cute. I mean, I really loved and at the same time I felt involved with the characters when I saw that movie. Kevin James' performance is very emotional. So he's great in his role of the teacher who still believes in being able to get that money in order to help a colleague of his to keep his job, a music teacher, to keep his job in the school, and he gets into this MMS fights out there. So he starts like a real beginner, and he goes from the beginning to the top. And this is really a very impressive emotional journey. So I believe you'd love if you see that movie. Here Comes the Boom, number 8 in my list. The next one is obviously The Dark Knight Rises, and although I didn't like that movie just as much as I actually liked The Dark Knight, and many people probably say the same thing, it's a really good movie, and it's very well directed, and it's epic. So I have to say that when I see an epic movie like that, I can't just ignore that. And so that's why I really think that The Dark Knight Rises has a place in this top 10 list. I love the movie. It had some powerful directing. It was a little too complicated, so sometimes I just felt a little lost because there were so many different hidden messages and so many scenes that I feel like this movie, the story of that movie was a little too deep. You see, sometimes certain movies happen to be a little too deep, and you can't quite easily follow the plot and how the events develop. I believe that this movie would have been great if it was made in two separate movies, like The Dark Knight Rises Part 1 and Part 2. That would have actually helped to stretch it a little more, so the viewers get the possibility to follow the events and connect them with ease. I think this would have been better. Otherwise, it got a little too complicated for me, and in the end, I was a little confused. Of course, when you watch it another time, you get to understand it better. But okay, it's a brilliant movie after all. So the next one, I have to say, I laughed really a lot in that movie. It was incredibly powerful. It's 21 Jump Street. See, I saw the 21 Jump Street at the earlier part of this year, and I think it was in March or April, and I was blown away of how funny it was. It was incredibly funny movie. One of the things that impressed me about it was the great performance of Jonah Hill, who is quite cool, and Channing Tatum, of course, doesn't fall behind. His performance and relation to Jonah Hill's character is also amazing. So if you haven't seen 21 Jump Street, go see it. It's a perfect movie about friendship, and you're gonna have lots and lots of fun during the actual watch. It's incredibly funny. Probably the funniest movie of this year, I have to say. The next one is Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas is made by the Wachowski brothers, and it's a very different kind of movie. It actually tells, I believe, around 5 stories or so at the same time. So in the beginning, it's a little messy, but then you get the point, and you're actually following. It's like you're following 5 shorter movies at the same time, and in some way they connect. So this is really a beautiful movie. I don't think that there is a better way for me to put it. It's a beautiful movie. It's about really the most important things that every man should care about, despite the concrete circumstances. It's about truth. It's about being honest with yourself and the others, and it's about love. It's about how love can actually survive no matter what is going on. There are some amazing performances in this movie. As you can see, the cast of Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, and Jim Broadbent. There are some amazing actors out there. So Cloud Atlas is definitely one of the most beautiful movies that I've seen this year. The next one on my list is Argo. Now, I can't recall to have seen a better directed movie when it comes to drama or a political thriller than Argo this or the last year. It was simply fabulous. Ben Affleck's work as a director here is fantastic, and basically the movie tells the story of a group of people who are trying to get out of Iran. As a movie crew, it's an incredible story, and it's very well presented. So at every single point, you're like with those people, so you feel for them, and at the same time, you understand how difficult it is to get them out of there. So basically, Ben Affleck's character plays the character of a special agent who is on assignment to go with the team crew and get those people out of Iran to the United States. So it's very interesting, and at the same time, I think that it has one of the best dialogues of every movie that I've seen this year. Argo is definitely on one of the best movies I've seen. And okay, we have Skyfall. Now, Skyfall has been again one of the best 007 movies that I've seen recently. So there was Casino Royale, which I think is slightly better than Quantum of Solace, wasn't as good, and then we have Skyfall, which is a complete new direction of the Bond movies. I have to say that this movie has some amazing cinematography and beautiful direction. So it was well done, and overall, I have to say, although at certain points it had a bit of a superficial script, I loved everything in it. So it was a beautiful, direction, some amazing scenes, and I think that all the other things really compensate for some of the poor script at certain times, like some superficial, not poor, but rather superficial script at certain times. Of course, then one of the other movies that I loved was The Avengers. I can't say how much I liked that movie. It had some stunning special effects, very engaging dialogue, and it's very interesting. It's simply one of those movies where you say, okay, well, this is really just all action movie, and there is also some fantasy. So, for example, people who I've met and heard about what they say about the Avengers, some of them who haven't even seen that, they say, okay, what's this? What's about this movie? It's just all action-packed movie with some fantasy elements, and this is just for kids, right, or for teens? And I don't think so, because it just has some very strong elements. Like, for example, the realism element. You don't just get to see all these characters fighting against evil right from the start. We see the developing of those characters, like how they meet each other, how they don't like each other at first, and then essentially what happens, so that these guys can really pull together and get to fight against the evil. It's amazing movie. Josh Whedon did a fantastic work with that movie, and I'm looking forward to the sequel, which will be in 2015. And of course, the first on my list is The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. That was probably the best movie that I've seen this year, although that was definitely a year of very good movies, and yet The Hobbit is probably the most touching movie. It brings us back to the Middle Earth, and is being directed by Peter Jackson. So what I liked about that movie itself was the fact that it didn't really lose the spirit of the Middle Earth just the way we know it from the Lord of the Rings. So although it was a little lighter, I would say it's a version of the Fellowship of the Ring, and it's a little lighter, so it's a bit easier to follow, more for kids. I loved it. I think it had the same epic feeling through the whole movie, and there was no moment where I felt like, okay, this could be cut out. Some people say that it wasn't exactly as the Lord of the Rings, and of course it wasn't, because it wasn't that dark, it wasn't so complex, but it certainly had its great moments, and at one point I even cried on that one. So that was definitely the best movie that I've seen this year. So with that, I just want to make sure that the top 10 review is just with some of the best that I've seen. I've seen a lot of other good movies this year. It was really hard for me to set up that list because, okay, I certainly like those movies a lot, but there are others who are almost equal to these, and I wanted to include them as well. But I said, okay, let's go with the top 10, and ultimately, I think that 2012 was a really good year when it comes to interesting movies. There were a lot of movies from different character, different genre, and all of them were definitely good. So I recommend you to go see any of these 10 movies that you may have missed, and I hope you like them just as much as I did.